Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got a neophyte snowflake. That's right, a newbie. She's just starting to learn, and as she calls it, research feminism. But already you can tell she's had a nice big helping of the Kool-Aid. I don't know if it's terminal yet, though, so let's see if we can help her navigate her way out of the minefield of feminist bullshit before it's too late.
Hey everyone, Megan here, and after a very awkward first YouTube video, I am back for my first official one, where I actually get to talk about feminism and not just awkwardly introduce the channel.
Yeah, I watched your channel introduction, and I have to say, I was morbidly curious to see where you were going to go with it. I mean, granted, I'm not a feminist, and as I'm sure you can deduce from any of my previous videos, I think feminism is pure unadulterated bullshit. But, in your introduction, you mentioned that you wanted to strike a positive note, and I just couldn't wait to see how you're going to polish that turd. You also admitted to not really knowing much about the subject, and said that basically you were just starting to learn about it. So, I kind of wanted to see if you were going to do any actual research, or if you were just going to do so-called feminist research, which is to say, none at all, just watch, listen, and read other feminists repeat your already determined opinion back to you. So let's see which path you chose.
For my first video, I really wanted to talk about the definition of feminism. It's really simple. You might be wondering why I'm making a video about it, but...
Oh no, please, say it ain't so, for the love of God.
The definition of feminism is...
Wait, stop. Let me just take a wild guess what's coming next. In fact, let me just put my guess right there on the screen, and I'll bet dollars to pesos this is what you're going to say.
The advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of social, political, and economic equality to men.
What a shock. The dictionary definition. Boy, you really went all out on the research there. Must have taken at least 2 or 3 whole seconds to come up with that. Alright, look, maybe I'm being a little harsh there. You did say you were still learning. You'll have to forgive my gut reaction, though, because I swear every single feminist on YouTube babbles that exact same bullshit at us. Please tell me, please tell me that you have something more insightful or meaningful to say than the dictionary definition. Pretty please?
This is a definition that a lot of people can get behind and support the equality aspect of it. A lot of people believe in that, but not a lot of people like the word feminism or the movement itself.
Wait a second. Stop right there, because what you're about to do is the same thing the rest of them do. Quote the definition of feminism and stand on that as quote-unquote equality. Well, if you take a critical look at your definition, and by critical I mean actually think about what it's saying, you'll see that it isn't about equality. Not anymore, if it ever was. But that's a subject better left for another time. Take a look at this part of the definition. The advocacy of women's rights. Sounds pretty innocuous, right? But in order to advocate for women's rights, with the desired effect of achieving equality, you must begin from the perspective that women do not already have equal rights, which, sorry to burst your bubble, isn't true. Now, I'm assuming you're an American. If not, my apologies, but you sound like one. Well then, you should know that in America, there isn't a single right that men have that women do not. However, there are several rights that women have that men do not. So advocating for more women's rights isn't going to yield equality then, is it? It's only going to add to the superiority of women.
Because actions speak louder than words.
That's true, especially when you're talking about a social movement with institutional power. I don't really want to keep using the same example all the time here, but it is pretty apt and clear. So, North Korea defines itself as a democratic republic. Surely you're not going to defend that country just because it has a pretty definition, are you?
I've seen people saying this and trying to say the definition of feminism is no longer valid a lot when people use the definition to define their actions. Like, say someone will say, well, feminism isn't about that anymore, it's about this, and then a feminist will say, well, you know, this is the definition, so it is about that. and I've seen lots of arguments, and mostly people just say that you can't use the definition to define feminism anymore, which I disagree with.
Well, of course you do. Are you sure you're just now learning feminism? I mean, it's starting to sound like you're already an expert on it. You're using the same tactics they do. Hear what you want to hear, believe only what you already believe, misunderstand or misrepresent any counterpoint, then dismiss it as invalid. I don't know, but pretty sure that's feminist arguing 101 stuff right there.
These actions, obviously, you're talking about are man-hating actions, kill all men are rapists, people who support female superiority. All of these are terrible, terrible things. They do not support equality. They go against the very definition of feminism. So, by definition, these people aren't feminists.
And yet, they are the face and the voice of your religion. These sorts of feminists are the ones published in papers and magazines. They are the ones teaching it in universities. They are the ones speaking to various congresses and parliaments to influence legislation. Hell, these are the kind that get invited to speak at the UN.
They may be borrowing our word, but they're not. If they don't follow the definition of feminism, then they're not feminists.
No, they've taken over your word and your religion. They are your word, which is exactly why we're saying the definition is no longer correct.
Personally, I choose to follow this definition. I want to shape my life, and what I do based on this definition, I always want to advocate for equal rights.
Then you're not a feminist. This is what you're saying, not this.
It's something that I believe in entirely, and something that I will always support. So if I support the definition of the word, why would I not support the word itself? And why would I not claim to be a part of that word?
Good question. Why aren't you egalitarian? It fits what you're saying better than feminism does, even if I grant you the feminism definition.
People say that real feminists, people like who don't say man-hating things and who actually support equality, aka decent human beings, should stop calling themselves feminists because the name feminism has been tarnished. It doesn't mean what it used to. People say bad things in the name of feminism, therefore jump ship and go to a more positive movement.
Yes, like the one that fits the beliefs you're espousing right now.
Just because people are saying bad things about the definition doesn't mean I'm going to abandon the word. Some people may corrupt feminism, and that's not me. As long as I choose to follow the definition, and as long as I support equality, I don't understand why the definition of feminism is not valid for me and for people like me, for actual feminists.
I've already demonstrated why. For you and people like you who say they support equality, you are egalitarian, not feminist. The actual feminists, as you put it, are not advocating for equality. They are advocating for superiority.
So, if you're arguing with someone about feminism or whatever, if you're in a conversation and someone says, well, the definition of feminism is, the definition, and so therefore, feminism is an inherently good movement.
I will tell them the same thing I've told you. No, it isn't. I'm going to skip the rest here because really, you're just repeating the same thing we've already discussed. A social movement is not bound to a dictionary definition. Like any other movement, feminism has grown and changed over time. Its definition did not. Feminism, or rather the original women's rights movement that feminism likes to claim as first wave, achieved its goals. Women have every single right that men have, in some cases more. I won't bother to point these out now. Hopefully you'll find them on your own when you do your own research. Hopefully. I'm not holding my breath. Unlike other social movements, though, the women's rights movement didn't go away. It morphed into feminism. Feminism isn't a social movement at all. If it had a single leader, I'd call it a cult. But it is a religion. It's big business. It's an institution. And it's not going away unless we can bring its true form and purpose to light. Unfortunately, teaching gullible people like yourself not to be fooled by a pretty sounding definition tied around a box that contains nothing more than a pile of shit is one of the few tools we have left to fight it with. Thanks to their infiltration of the press and social media, though, we're losing that tool as well as the feminists start their campaigns to suppress free speech under the guise of protection from bullying and safe spaces so their rhetoric can go unchallenged. Hopefully, when you finally start doing this research you mentioned before, you'll be honest about it and not seek out just those opinions that reinforce your own. Approach your research with honesty, and I'm confident you'll be scratching your head wondering how this pile of shit ever fooled you into thinking it was pretty. Well, that's it for this time, folks. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.